Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, National Electrical Installation Standards, Standards as High as Your Own. Thank you for joining us. I'm your event host, Timothy Johnson, and I'm the editor of digital content for Electrical Contractor magazine. First, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's presentation uses the WebEx audio broadcast feature through your computer speakers or headphones. If you prefer to call in, there's a toll-free number in the chat window. If you experience audio difficulties at any time during the event, please feel free to telephone in using this number as well. If you have additional technical difficulties throughout today's presentation, please reach out to me via the chat window, and we will work to troubleshoot. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be made available to all attendees within 48 hours of the event. So if you miss anything or if something comes up and you have to leave, you can come back to the presentation at your convenience. In addition, every attendee will receive a digital copy of NEIS 408, Standard for Installing and Maintaining Busways. We'll have a short question and answer session at the conclusion of the presentation. If you have any questions at any point during the presentation, you can submit them to the presenters through the Q&A chat box in the bottom right-hand corner. Today's presenters are Executive Director of Standards and Safety, Michael Johnston, and Administrative Professional of Standards and Safety, Sophia Arias. Thank you again for attending. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Michael Johnson to get started. Mike?
Thank you, Tim, and welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending this webinar about National Electrical Installation Standards, and we think everyone will benefit from the information and content within this program. First of all, this is a webinar that is hosted by Electrical Contractor magazine, and we have 3 sponsors for this event, and we want to acknowledge those sponsors right up front. Arlington Industries is one. We have Leviton, and we also have Southwire as our sponsors. So thanks to the sponsors for the event. I know we reached a lot of people because of their sponsorship of this material. As Tim indicated earlier, I'm the Executive Director of Standards and Safety for NECA. That means I'm responsible for everything related to codes and standards and safety that NECA is involved in or develops. And joining me today is our Administrative Professional, Sophia Arias, and she'll have a portion of the program to present for you as well, so she will join us later. So I want to talk a little bit about the webinar objectives and let everyone know what we're intending to accomplish during this presentation. And we start out really by providing some general information about NECA, number one, the National Electrical Contractors Association, and the National Electrical Installation Standards, or the acronym NEIS. You'll find that we'll be describing in a little more detail what the NEIS are all about and take a peek into how they're developed, what results in a National Electrical Installation Standard being developed. An important aspect of this webinar is to explain to the attendees how the NEIS program was inspired. What was the driving inspiration behind developing NEIS? Why did NECA do it? And we'll talk a little bit about that and provide some background, a little bit of the history. And then when Sophia does her portion, we'll look at ANSI's role, the American National Standards Institute's role and participation in NECA's NEIS development processes. We'll describe what makes them work. Why are they attractive to contractors? Why are they attractive to students? Why are they attractive to professionals like architects and engineers and owners and so forth? Then there's the relationship between codes and standards that exist in the industry, such as the NEC, and our National Electrical Installation Standards. How do they relate to each other? How do they complement one another? How do they overlay one another? And we'll provide an overview of some of the benefits. For those who have interest in obtaining more NEIS, we'll look at benefits, and we'll look at common uses, how they're used in the field today. So a little bit about NECA. NECA is the National Electrical Contractors Association. You can find this information on our website under About NECA. We primarily serve as the voice of the electrical construction industry, bringing power and light communications technologies to buildings and communities. NECA has a wide variety of members, including electrical contractors that provide services for buildings and properties on the load side of the meter. We also do a lot of work in transmission and distribution, outside line construction. We've worked as subcontractors to utilities to build big power substations and distribute power that way. So we're heavily involved in the industry. And a little bit of history here. In 1901, NECA was originally established, but the organization was actually formed by several electrical contractors in the late 1800s. At that time, it was known as the Electric Light Association. In 1901, it was formally established as the National Electrical Contractors Association. NECA contractors set industry standards for traditional integrated electrical systems and really, in many respects, lead the industry in practical applications, trends, and new technologies. So that's a little bit about NECA. If you want to know more, you can visit our website, www.necanet.org, to find out more. So let's get into the program a little bit and talk about our NEIS. First of all, since the development of the program, NECA's produced right around 44 ANSI-accredited quality and performance standards for the industry, and they're available to everybody. They're not just for use at NECA. Any ANSI-accredited standard is open to the public. So these are available to not only NECA members, but they're available to everybody for use. The primary objectives of these electrical industry standards are to clearly define what constitutes good workmanship in electrical construction. And these standards are formally known as the National Electrical Installation Standards, and you can see the registered trademark for that program in the lower right-hand corner of the slide. So let's take a little deeper dive and talk about what National Electrical Installation Standards are and why they were produced. They're really quality and performance standards that are basically voluntary, but they can become mandatory standards when they're adopted into law or they're incorporated by reference from another standard that is adopted into law. They deal primarily with quality and performance issues related to electrical construction. They go far beyond the minimum electrical standards that you would refer to in your daily operations. They address a lot of performance aspects of electrical construction. They get into planning a project. They expand upon maintenance and the importance of maintenance. Each of the standards is equipped with a commissioning portion of the standard, in addition to getting into aspects of how to install in a quality manner that you don't find in codes like the NEC or the National Electrical Safety Code. These standards also, where appropriate, provide reference to other related standards, so they work to coordinate between standards that deal with related subject matter. They're not intended to conflict with or compete with any other standards that are out there. Any ANSI accredited standard goes through a process to make sure that there is no conflicting standard or competing standard. The idea behind the NEIS is to complement and overlay existing codes and standards and expand upon the quality and performance aspects of such documents. So let's talk about the inspiration and when these were developed. These National Electrical Installation Standards were developed in 1996. That was actually the first published standard, NECA 1. We'll talk about it in a minute. But as you can see, this family of standards has grown to about 40 plus, and they're 20 years old. So this is a program that's been in the process for about 20 years. And as far as NECA knows, these are the first quality and performance standards for electrical construction, which makes them valuable because architects, engineers, and other specifiers are often concerned about quality and performance, and they handle things through their specifications to deal with those issues, to make sure that owners receive the product that they're anticipating. By them being ANSI approved, it ensures that they were developed under an open consensus process with industry experts, a balance of industry experts, and they provide the latest, most accurate information about quality and workmanship related to the various aspects of electrical construction. So about 20 years old, the program, actually 20 years young, I should say, a very old program, but developed in 1996. And the inspiration for this program was it all centers around what constitutes good workmanship in electrical construction. There are several standards and several codes in addition to the NEC that have a general requirement or a general clause that says electrical equipment and conductors be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner. But nothing within those documents ever describes what that is. And the NEIS take care of this. This is done in the NEIS program. Good workmanship can be very subjective, and that can mean many different things to different people because everyone has their own standards. So NECA has established this family of standards to help address those inconsistencies. We identified a lack of descriptive material in dealing with quality and workmanship. And one of the benefits, one of the driving inspirational aspects of this was our members. Our members wanted to be positioned with their customers favorably, that the association they're a member of, NECA, cares enough about quality, performance, and workmanship that they can demonstrate to their customers that they abide by those quality and workmanship standards, which helps put them in a nice light with their customers and potential new customers. So that's all inspiration for the NEIS. It started out with NECA 1. NECA 1 is the flagship document for the NEIS program, and it's titled Standard for Good Workmanship in Electrical Construction. And many generalized aspects of the industry dealing with workmanship are covered in NECA 1. For instance, installing conduit systems and wiring parallel and perpendicular to building lines, making sure things are true and level, terminations are tight, and so forth. Panels are dressed and the conductors are trained within equipment, and it looks like a professional installed it when it's complete. So NECA 1 is the generalized flagship standard for the whole program. It was the first standard, and it was also the first ANSI approved workmanship standard for electrical. The scope of ANSI 1, NECA 1, is to define and provide specific criteria as to what is intended by installing electrical equipment in a neat and workmanlike manner. manner. What that is, that's basically what's handled in NECA 1. The other standards that you'll see within the family address that various aspect or various subject matter that's in the title of each specific standard. Section 110.12 of the National Electrical Code is where you find the language about conductors and equipment being installed in a neat, workmanlike manner. And what you'll find below Section 110.12 in the NEC is an informational note that references the NECA National Electrical Installation Standards for what constitutes good workmanship in electrical construction. So that Section 110.12 deals with the workmanlike manner, and as I stated earlier, it's ambiguous and subjective, and it's largely related to the level of experience and standards that each individual or each other organization has when they're dealing with an electrical system or electrical installation. It's also subject to a wide variety of interpretations, and various construction practices can be developed. Some of them good, some of them are not so good. And the NEIS is intended to work to alleviate some of those inconsistencies and position folks involved in the electrical industry in a good way with their customers, not just NECA members, but anyone who utilizes an NEIS can say so to their customers or potential new customers, and it puts them in a good position with their customers. They care enough about their workmanship and quality and performance issues to want to align their work with the requirements in the NEIS. So what is good workmanship, and how do you tell it good workmanship from poor workmanship? I think it's something, a picture can be worth 1,000 words, so we've put a few pictures of what constitutes good workmanship in electrical construction in this program to kind of convey to the attendees what we consider good workmanship. But one thing I should say is things can look really, really good on the outside, but in the inside there could be a whole bunch of problems with it. So good workmanship is a through and through concept. What looks good on the outside also must look good on the inside, and it must carry the quality and performance aspects for longevity of that installation or system. If it's worth doing right. That's a good standard for anyone to take to their careers or take to any operation that they're involved with. It just improves their quality and their standards as they deal with their careers, their profession, or even in their personal life. Good electrical work usually looks good. It's not hard to spot it when you see it. So the first photo that we show is a nice display of electrical conduit. In this case, is a fire alarm system. There's a wireway installed above the fire alarm system, and things are installed level, perpendicular to building lines. The conduit is installed in a neat, workmanlike manner. The heights of the enclosures match when they're side by side. They're not at different heights. The conduits entering the top of the wireway above the fire alarm control panel on the right. All those conduits are level, straight and perpendicular to building lines. So that's an example. It's just a general display of good workmanship in electrical construction. Someone can look at it and say immediately, well, someone that knew what they were doing was involved with this installation. Also, the supports. The securement of electrical equipment, whether it's conduit systems, whether it's equipment such as panel boards and transformers, is very evident the level of quality and workmanship in the method equipment is supported and hung as it's installed. So that can be a dead giveaway about quality and performance issues into the construction. Here's another example of a couple of panel boards and some conduit installed, and you can see the time that was spent in the conduit racking to make sure that everything was straight and parallel with each other. It's evident when you look at the photo that someone knew what they were doing when they performed that installation. Another one, when you're dealing with conduit piping systems, a lot of craftsmen in our industry treat that as art. You know, when they've been trained how to bend conduit and how to install conduit, it's an art form for them. Many who are involved in the industry don't get to that level where they treat it as an art form. Those who take their career seriously are proud of it when they walk away from it. And as I stated earlier, when you have an electrical installation and you're looking at it from outward appearances in, it can look great on the outside, but then on the inside it can be all messed up. And this is a look inside the back of a switchboard, a fairly large switchboard, and obviously some large conductors. There's 4 conductors per phase in parallel that had to be terminated within this equipment. And a quality aspect of this installation is the alignment of the conduit entries into the top of the enclosure. The installer would, if they didn't enter the enclosure in the top in the right position, the installer would not have been able to dress this termination, as you see in the photo, without putting undue stress on the conductors. So it was evident on the outside that the installation was a quality installation, and as a result, being able to train the conductors and terminate them within the switchboard in a manner that, when it's complete, looks neat and looks like a quality installation, it was easily achievable. So at this time, what I'm going to do is pass the presentation to Sophia and let her talk a little bit about some of the titles and talk a little bit about our relationship with ANSI and the process that we go through to develop a standard and get one through the process of approval. So, Sophia, I've passed the presentation to you. If you're ready, you can take her away.
Thanks, Mike. So like you said, these are just a few of the titles that have been recently revised. First up, we have NECA-AA, Standard for Installing Aluminum Building Wire and Cable. And next we have NECA 413, Standard for Installing and Maintaining Electrical Vehicle Supply Equipment. We also have NECA 701, Standard for Energy Management, Demand Response and Energy Solutions. And lastly, we have NECA 100, symbols for electrical construction drawings. So this is just a graph to show you the steps in the process. I'm going to go over them in the next few slides, but just go over them quickly right now. The first step is creating the draft. Next, we have submitting the PINS form. Industry review is next. Then the Canvas request. The ANSI DSR 8. The next step would be starting off the ballot. After that, any recirculation ballots will take place, and sometimes that can go up to more than 3 or 4. We have comment resolution, and then the submittal of the DSR 9 form, and finally we have the ANSI approval. So how are NEIS developed? The first step is made up of 2 parts. As you saw, one of the first steps was creating a draft and submitting the PINS form. This can be done simultaneously. We have a subject matter expert that will create the draft while I submit the PINS form to ANSI. Once this has been completed, we go on to the next step, which is the industry review. During this stage, experts specific to the standard will have 30 days to review the draft and submit the suggested changes. The SME will incorporate these changes and produce the final draft that will be used for the balloting stages. The next step is acquiring a Canvas group to review the standard. This step can also be done at the same time as the industry review. I will send out the request to join the Canvas, and we send this out to organizations, stakeholders, industry reps, our NECA Codes and Standards Committee, and any members of the public that may have a general interest in reviewing this standard. Once the Canvas group has been established, the first balloting period will commence. The first ballot typically goes for a 45-day review period. If any technical comments or disapproval ballots are received, it will go for an additional 30-day recirculation. As I mentioned before, we've had standards that have gone for multiple balloting periods, and we look at it as a good thing because the more ballots they go through and the more comments that are received, the more accurate our final product will be. I wanted to talk a little bit about our relationship with ANSI. ANSI stands for the American National Standards Institute. Our entire process is done in accordance with the ANSI requirements. They set the rules and guidelines for the official standards accreditation. They oversee the standards development of over 275 organizations with subjects ranging from aerospace technology to medical imaging equipment. NECA is a ANSI accredited standards development organization, or what they like to refer to as an SDO. We adhere to their sets of procedures, and those are known as the ANSI essential requirements. So that document governs the consensus and development procedures. ANSI also ensures that our procedures reflect transparency in the document, as well as an equal representation from all interest groups so that there is a lack of dominance. And they assure that there's a consensus among the Canvas group when it comes to final balloting. They also ensure that our SME has incorporated all the comments that were received during each balloting period, or resolve them by giving a reason as to why they were not incorporated. And that brings us to the final step in the process, which is the ANSI approval. I did want to talk a little bit about the documents that we submit to ANSI. First up, we have the PINS form, which is basically just a notification to the standards community that a project is being initiated. Next, we have the BSR-8 form, which serves as a notification that the draft of the standard is available for public comment. This is also this is actually a 45-day period from the moment that it's submitted to, or from the moment that it's announced onto the 45-day, the end of the 45 days. And the final form is the BSR-9, which is used to submit the final version of the standard to ANSI. And this form, it contains all the official information as well as evidence that we followed ANSI procedure. It contains the final ballot numbers and the final comments that were received. So once ANSI has approved the standard, we send it into production. And that's just a quick overview of our procedure. And as I mentioned before, NECA does partner with other organizations to develop our NEIS. These are just a few. As you saw in the slides that contained the NEIS, we work with the Aluminum Association. We also work with the Fiber Optic Association. Some names that might seem familiar to you are the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association. And we work with the Electrical Generating Systems Association, Transformer Association. And our list of NEIS partners is non-inclusive because it's always changing. We're always partnering and looking to work together with groups that have interest in whichever standards we are trying to develop. So I'm going to hand it back over to Mike, and he's just going to talk about the relationship of the NEC to NEIS.
Thank you, Sophia. I appreciate your help with this, and I'm sure our audience has benefited from your input and your presentation. So let's move on and talk about the relationship between the NEIS program and the National Electrical Code for this portion. First of all, before I get into that, I should state up front that the NEC and the term National Electrical Code are registered trademarks of the NFPA, and NFPA gives NECA permission to use them in this fashion and within the standards as they're used. So those are registered trademarks. The NEIS program also has its own registered trademarks. So the NEC, how does it work? It's typically, first of all, it's the most widely adopted electrical code in the world. And it's also, in many cases, one of the most widely misinterpreted codes in the world. But the NEC is the minimum. That means it contains the rules that are the least amount that one must do to result in a safe installation. The NEC is typically adopted into law at the state level by jurisdictions and even down at the city and local levels. It's typically a legal document once it's adopted into law. The code, the NEC does refer to neat and workmanlike in several locations. I believe there's at least almost 20 places within the NEC where it talks about a specific portion of the electrical system or installation being installed in a neat and workmanlike manner, whether it's a communication system, whether it's a fiber optic installation, or whether it's a general installation as covered in 110.12 of the code. So the NEC provides those minimum rules for safe electrical installations. The NEIS program goes beyond those minimum requirements. I would be remiss if I didn't provide a high-level look at the North American electrical safety system and how the NEIS fits into that system. You can see several components of the system. It starts out with installation codes, and the NEC would definitely be an installation code dealing with electrical. And as you move to the left, you see that product standards and certification are a component of the overall safety system. What that's referring to is electrical conductors and equipment that are certified by qualified electrical testing laboratories and as meeting minimum product standards for safety. And if you look at the slide to the right side of installation codes at the top and then arrow down, you see another component of the electrical safety system, and that's inspection and enforcement. This is typically done by building inspectors or electrical inspectors on the front lines where the installations are happening. And NECA likes to also include in this electrical safety system the qualified contractors and qualified workers as a valuable component to achieve a safe electrical system. If we have all of these elements, installation codes, product standards and certification, qualified contractors and workers, good inspection and enforcement, we end up at the bottom with products and installations that are essentially safe and free from electrical hazards. That's our ultimate goal. So the NEIS are quality and performance standards which ensure quality and workmanship of the installation in addition to meeting the safety parameters set forth in codes such as the NEC. They specify what's required to perform a neat and workmanlike installation. And as an example, if Sophia mentioned NECA 104, NECA AA 104, which is the standard on installing aluminum conductors. Well, the NEC deals with that in a general fashion and just talks about working requirements and terminations of those types of conductor material, aluminum in this case. The NEIS goes beyond that and talks about how to strip the aluminum conductors like a pencil, how to wire brush the aluminum conductors to remove any oxidation, how to terminate it and torque it in accordance with manufacturer's requirements, and also, where necessary, how to use oxide inhibitors to prevent oxidation from happening. These are all things that are related to quality and performance issues of the installation that go beyond the minimum requirements of the NEC. That gives you a little example of some of the things that are covered and contained in the NEIS. As I stated earlier, they supplement and overlay the NEC minimum requirements, and they deal with those quality and performance issues. Sophia already indicated how they're developed through a consensus process. There are other codes, in addition to the NEC, that exist out there that also include the requirement to install that aspect of an installation in a neat and workmanlike manner, such as fire alarm systems, such as lightning protection systems, such as the work covered in the National Electrical Safety Code, and so forth. So there's a good relationship that's established and a good use that's established of the NEIS because of all of those other industry standards and codes that require the work to be installed neat and workmanlike. So what makes them work? Basically, the NEIS, the NEC tells you what to do or tells you what's required as a minimum as far as sizing and as far as code requirement aspects of the installation. The NEIS provides you more about the how-to complete the installation, where you're achieving good workmanship in that aspect of the construction project. They address a lot of the information that is not contained within those minimum codes and standards. That's what distinguishes them from codes like the NEC and provides a good overlayment, if you will, for those documents and a good complementing feature for those documents to help folks complete the package. And they can distinguish a quality contractor or installer in construction as above average. And it's apparent, you know, it's one thing to demonstrate to a customer or potential customer that you meet all applicable codes and standards, which are typically the minimum. But when you can go beyond that, if you're selling your services to a customer or potential new customer, you have this set of ANSI accredited quality and performance standards that you can demonstrate you work to achieve the level of quality contained in those documents, and customers and owners, people that are going to have to live with the installation for a long time, really appreciate that. Here's another photo of the inside of a piece of electrical equipment. This is a transfer switch, and you can see it's terminated in a neat and workmanlike manner. Some of the dead giveaways are how the conductors are straight into the terminal. The terminals are tight. The identification of the phases, the 3 different phases, distinguishing them from the neutral or grounded conductor. There's a lot of aspects of this installation that illustrate good workmanship in construction. So some of the advantages are to result in more professional and qualified contractors and improve electrical system installation quality through workmanship, to help guide those involved in installation with valuable information, even sometimes at the basic level, on what it means to install it in a workmanlike manner. The other thing that NEIS deals with, when you get your complimentary copy, you'll see that there's information in there about planning the project, or planning and pre-planning. There's information in there about maintenance, after preventive maintenance and maintenance that's necessary for various aspects of the industry covered by the NEIS, commissioning and turning over a building electrical system to an owner is covered in pretty good detail, and referencing other standards that might be related. This can improve installation reliability and reduce other liabilities, and also reduce the callbacks, reduce inspection problems. As an inspector rolls onto a site, if everything's done in a neat and workmanlike manner, I can tell you with my past experience as an inspector that the confidence level is going way up when the work looks good. Doesn't mean that the inspector should go to sleep. They still need to do their job, but it sure raises the confidence levels when the good workmanship is apparent. Also, for electrical engineers and architects and so forth and specification writers, because these are ANSI accredited documents, a lot of specification writing time can be saved by those professionals, and they can reference from their plans and specifications. They can reference the NEIS, and they can be assured, because they're ANSI accredited, that they contain the goods they're looking for related to neat and workmanlike. They're user-friendly. They include a nice guide or roadmap for the document, nice table of contents. They actually provide practical guidance. They're written in a very down-to-earth fashion. They're not complicated. It's very important for folks involved in installation that things are easy to read and understand. And we've constructed them that way. They're not complicated standards at all. They provide a convenient and practical method of communicating the high level of quality that owners have in mind when they're specifying or planning a project. Oftentimes, owners don't really know what it should look like or how it should perform or what the quality and performance aspects of the installation are. The NEIS can fill in those blanks. The NEIS provides the benefit of increasing the long-term life expectancy of an installation beyond just having it being safe and meeting minimum requirements. It needs to meet all of that. The installation needs to meet all of that, but it also can be done in a quality manner that is neat and workmanlike along the way. Those journey persons or those trained in the electrical field bring those skills with them, and that's just something that happens automatically if they're well trained. As I stated earlier, they assist in maximizing performance and long-term effect of a quality and dependable electrical installation, which is another characteristics that owners are looking for. The level of quality in workmanship in anything really is really self-evident. It's not hard to distinguish between work or a task that has been performed in a very poor fashion as compared to one that has been performed by a professional in a quality manner. Those performing things in a quality and workmanship manner actually are improving their integrity and their reputation with their customers and setting themselves up to have a good reputation when a new customer is considering them for a project. So whether it's cable systems or whether it's conduit systems, there's ways to install those types of wiring methods in a manner that's neat and workmanlike. So design and engineering integrity. As I stated earlier, we do work with various electrical engineers and architects and other specifiers that are involved with referencing the NEIS from their own specifications and plans, and they have found a lot of value in that. And actually some good recommendations have come to NECA from electrical engineers and architects on suggested titles to include in our program. And we take all of those seriously. NECA is not just developing any standard out there. We're focusing on industry trends, things that are hot in the business right now, like energy storage is a big one right now, and other elements that are bubbling up related to the smart grid and so forth that will need quality and performance aspects dealt with. By incorporating them into contract documents, it improves communication between owners and electrical subcontractors, engineers, general contractors, inspectors, and specification writers. It provides a good benchmark, good baseline to deal with the quality and performance aspects of any electrical installation. It also provides owners with an objective method and means to communicate and clarify design intentions and evaluate the results of a completed project. The NEIS can be used as a good guideline document to clarify that for owners and those that are less informed about the electrical business. As I stated earlier, reliability is an important aspect of an electrical system, and I can tell you that maintenance is important and preventive maintenance programs are important. It's something that owners don't realize that over the life of the system, it's just like a car. It's just like an automobile or a vehicle. It has to be maintained over the life of the system. There's various elements of it that need to be maintained for it to perform adequately and remain in a safe condition. A lot of folks ignore the maintenance aspect of an electrical installation. They have a run it till it fails mentality. As long as the lights are on, everything's okay. Maintenance is an important issue, and it's addressed within the NEIS documents. The NEIS builds reputations and credibility of professionals who think in terms of project quality and longevity, not just the price. So we do have a relationship to our partnership program. NECA and IBEW, the National Electrical Contractors Association, and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers are partners. NECA is the construction managers, and the IBEW is the workforce. And our training arm for those two organizations is the Electrical Training Alliance. That's where apprentices are indentured into a program and they're trained over a period of 4 to 5 years in the classroom and on-the-job training, and they turn out as journey persons and ready to move to the next phase of their career. Well, during their training, they're exposed to our NEIS in various elements of the curriculum, which means that these apprentices are learning about quality and performance and workmanship issues at an early age to turn out real bona fide craftspersons in our trade. Here's just a few testimonials from some individuals that have come to us over the years. We wanted to share these with you and with the attendees to see what others are saying about NEIS. This one comes from Ray Hamilton, a good friend of NECA's, and indicates that they're a series of great value to electricians and help disseminate important information to the field. Ultimately, it serves an important public safety goal in addition to the quality and performance aspects. Art from Laurel, Maryland indicates that the standards are good because so many people in the field have different understandings of what is meant by neat and workmanlike. And it's all really based on their own personal standards and levels of training and experience. So the NEIS works to level the field and provide that baseline that everyone can aspire to. Leon Dover from the Atlanta, Georgia area. Here's an enforcement official, chief electrical inspector. When engineers reference the NEIS in project specification, it makes them enforceable by code officials. So they have found value in that area by using them in a specification or incorporation by reference from specification as mandatory to help end up with a quality project in addition to one that meets the minimums as stated in the NEC and other standards that only contain minimum requirements. So we do have registered trademarks. These are copyright documents. You need permission if you're going to make any additional copies. They're protected under copyright laws. The NEIS are registered trademarks. NEIS and the NEIS logo are registered trademarks. And there is a method to obtain permission to copy segments of them if they need to be used for something, and it's just a matter of asking and reaching out to NECA for such permission. So what's the future of this program? Well, the future is very bright. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of work and various standards that we see we're going to develop based on industry trends. And we will do that in accordance with ANSI's essential requirements, of course. And our objectives are to include new NEIS based on identified needs. As I stated earlier, we have often recommendations from industry professionals, engineers, architects, inspectors, other trade organizations and associations such as NEMA, such as NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, and so forth. And when we provide training programs and presentations, whether it's at NECA events or NECA chapter meetings or other association events, we also are accredited by ISET to issue continuing education units for those training programs. And this is some additional information. You'll be receiving a copy of the presentation. All of attendees will. This provides some direct lines in through fax, direct link to our website, URL to our website, and phone number to Standards Administration, where you can obtain copies. It can be referred to, we can get you hooked up with the store where you can purchase copies of the NEIS program, the whole library if you want, you can subscribe to. And so contact information there. And I'm just about out of time. It's about 5 minutes to noontime. So we're going to summarize this, and then we'll try and address any of those questions that may have come in. So in summary, first of all, it was my pleasure, and I know Sophia was glad to be able to provide the information in this webinar about NECA and about our NEIS program and how it works. In some respects, it's a pretty well-kept secret, and we need to market it well so others can become aware of it and utilize it. And we're working on things to help that along. Today we provided general information about NECA. You can find out more on our website at www.necanet.org. And also there's more information on the NEIS website. That's www.neca-neis.org. We described at a high level what the NEIS are and how they are developed. We also looked at the inspiration for NEIS. A lot of folks had questions about why NECA did this, and hopefully we've clarified that. Sophia clearly explained ANSI's role and the relationship NECA has with ANSI and how it relates to the development and approval process for NEIS documents. These documents were being developed, a lot of these were developed anyway as guides for our members and the industry, and they've been turned into standards over the period of 20 years and maintain ANSI accreditation. We described what makes them work. Why do they have value to the industry? Why are they valuable to NECA members? And we looked at the important relationship between the NEC and other standards and the National Electrical Installation Standards that we produce. We looked at the benefits of NEIS, a few of the benefits. I'm sure that attendees might have their own benefits and uses of them. And we described a few of the common uses of NEIS. And my contact information is also provided in this PowerPoint, and Sophia's information is also provided there in both the phone number and a email address. If you need any additional information, we'll be happy to provide that for you and answer any additional questions that you may have after this program is completed today. Once again, I would be remiss if I didn't thank our host, Electrical Contractor Magazine, and they were very instrumental in setting this up and getting the word out to our readership, and thanking our sponsors, Arlington Industries, Levitton, and Southwire, for their involvement in helping us make this happen, and perhaps reaching some of their clients as well. So thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to EC Magazine. And with that, that's really going to conclude this webinar on National Electrical Installation Standards, the NEIS. And the idea and the objective is to provide folks with a baseline and make sure that they have standards that are high as their own. And I'd like to open it up to any of the questions that may have come in and turn it back over to Tim to assist with that. I'll answer them as we look at them, and then Tim will provide some closing remarks. So Tim, if you're ready, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Sure, yeah. Thanks, Mike. This is really interesting. The NEIS program is very valuable and certainly a valuable tool. We did get a few interesting questions. Some of it you guys may have already covered because this was a really comprehensive presentation, but we'll just go through some real quick. One that I thought was pretty interesting was that you guys stated in the presentation that you could use the NEIS almost like a sales tool, it seemed like. And someone wanted to know, what if the customer doesn't understand the difference between the NEIS and the NEC? How can they distinguish between the standards, and especially for someone who may be more concerned with cost and meeting minimum requirements?
Sure, that's a good question, Tim. The answer lies. The answer is very simple, and it really lies within the scopes of each of the documents. The NEC has a scope, and the NEIS, each of the NEIS documents have a scope, and that pretty much lays out the differences between the two. And essentially what you'll see is in the scope of the NEC, it talks about minimum requirements for safe electrical installations. And then within our NEIS documents, it talks about quality and performance aspects of the various subject matters in the titles. So that's the real answer. It lies within the scope of the minimum standards, such as the NEC, and the scope of the applicable NEIS.
Great. Another good question was, it's kind of open-ended, but what's the best way to use the NEIS to educate workers?
Well, as we talked about earlier, they're already being used and introduced to apprentices in the field. Many of our members have found that if they subscribe to NEIS or they obtain the NEIS, they can provide them for their general foreman and their foreman, who can convey information within the documents to their installing workforce out in the field. And that helps clear up questions that many of those folks who are already trained may clear up some of the questions that they may have relative to the various details of the installation. So getting the information to the field is typically done through the members, which is a NECA contractor or other contractor that decides to purchase them and share the information with their installing front lines.
Perfect. Another question, have you guys found that there's a value to inspectors to use it?
That's a good question, Tim. The answer is yes. The inspectors, as a matter of fact, we've got a great relationship with the electrical inspection community. We've actually written articles about the NEIS and posted them in IAEI News, and we've worked with ICC to make sure that they're aware of the NEIS. But inspectors find value in them to help them address the neat and workmanlike manner issues that are required by a mandatory standard such as the NEC. To put that phrase in a mandatory document, just say that the system shall be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner is very subjective to those who have to enforce the document. So the NEIS kind of fills in the bricks around, or the mortar around the bricks with regard to quality and performance issues. So inspectors find value in using them that way, not necessarily enforcing the information unless it becomes an enforceable document in that jurisdiction, but to provide the information to the customers that they're inspecting for.
Great. And one last question I think might be of value to wrap up with is, what's the best way to follow you guys and get more information about upcoming NEIS standards?
Well, we have the website is a good place. You can find on www.necanet.org. We usually have highlighted the NEIS that are in development or in the ANSI review process. We also have information on NECA Codes and Standards has a presence on Twitter. We also have a Facebook presence. There's a NEIS Facebook page that one can glean information from, and our NECA-NEIS page can provide information all about NEIS and what we're up to as far as new standards in development.
Great. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up since we're a few minutes over. On behalf of Electrical Contractor, I just want to thank everyone once again for attending. We really appreciate it. I also want to thank our sponsors, Arlington Industries, Leviton, and Southwire. They're great people to work with, and we were excited that they were supportive of this webinar. And thanks to Mike and Sophia for a wonderful presentation. I thought it was really comprehensive and interesting. So be on the lookout, everyone, for the recording of this event, and there will be a digital copy of NEIS 408 that'll be sent to your email. And we hope to see you again in a future webinar, and hope you have a great day.